After 191 matches, the champions of the JPL 2023-2024 has been decided. We tell you how they got there and more on this, the Super Final Review Show. Yes, people, welcome back to JPL, and we are doing it one more time for the season. It is the Super Final Review Show, and people, we have a lot to talk about. It was a great final at the stadium, and let's go straight into it by beginning with the starting lineups. We start with More Pleasant first, and I must say they had some quite peculiar changes to their lineup. First thing first, the formation have switched from a traditional 4-3-3 to something that's kind of looking more what Cavalier was putting out, a 4-2-3-1. Most people realizing that number 10 role there's a James, but it's not the James that we all expected. It's not Nathaniel James, but Sunday James. I was very surprised with that bold call by Topper Whitmore, but let us see how it goes. Bailey and Campbell kept their spots, of course, but there was a mix-up in defense and midfield. Now, a lot of More Pleasant fans were telling me that they were worried with Ladell Richie's playing, with Dyer being red-carded, and they were worried about his lack of pace against the likes of Busy Atkinson and Jamal Calvin. Well, it seems that Whitmore is thinking about the same, as he actually put Duxley back in the centre-back role to partner Topi. But so that means that there's a hole in that DM's position, and that had to go to Howell, who now partners Demario Phillips at the base. Right back was also missing as Cummins had a yellow card accumulation. That means Gawain Aston had to step in at right back. Okay, for Cavalier now, they kept to the 4-2-3-1. That basically saw all the usual players in there. The only difference now is that Stein returned to the bench up top. We saw Calvin playing his much more preferred position through the middle, and saw Ainsworth coming at that right side. So basically Cavalier was set up to try and go at More Pleasant very early, and that they did as kickoff happened. They were acting like an angry business with many of the players then buzzing around at kickoff. Basically one of the first passes they made was a direct ball down the right channel to give chase for Ainsworth. It was floated in and Calvin met it at the near post to head it towards goal. And I must say Davis was on point and ready and did a good job to tip it over the bar. First warning shots went to Cavalier, and let's see how it goes from there. They didn't relent. More and more high pressing, more and more high direct balls was being played in both channels and up through the middle, and Busy Atkinson usual was causing nothing but trouble. He did his best to get round and past players, try to hold the ball, and even if he lose it, he was all the way back into his own left back or right back position to win it back. Superb performance as usual, but we expect nothing less from the man nicknamed Busy. Eventually another good ball was played down the right channel. This time Calvin was on the end of it. He did well to get free and make a good shot at goal, but it was matched equally by Davis once more to part it for safety. So another warning shot by Cavalier to tell More Pleasant that they're definitely in this game. More Pleasant took some time, again as expected, and again because of some good work by Cavalier, to get them past the rhythm going. Eventually Phillips was starting to play more of a pivotal role in controlling the tempo. He was getting enough help from inverted Sule McCullough, who is now coming into that midfield to help control the tempo. Those tools were pivotal to get the passing game going, but unfortunately for them, they couldn't get any meaningful strikes on goal. They tried their best to play it out to Campbell, and as I stated in the previous show, Cavalier's number one job is to stop that man, and to give credit where credit due, they did exactly that. Anytime Campbell had the ball, he was given enough and respected space by Leng, who backed off and delayed so he can get enough help for the retreating Adrian Reed, or Busy Atkinson, or Ainsworth on that wing. It played to a role, and even when Campbell seemed he was going to wiggle by, they decided to stop him by any means necessary. There's a lot of times he got by, he was not getting a ball back, as a slide tackle came in at the right time to take him down. Cavalier clearly had no problems wrapping up those yellow cards, as long as they stopped him from getting down to the byline. So Campbell had it tough, but what about the other winger, Bailey? Now Bailey himself was having a much better game. Anytime he had the ball, he was definitely not afraid to take on players coming inside more than going down the right wing, and he sometimes get past Cadet. Sometimes his dribble was good enough to get past Cadet, and he caused fits for Irving all day long. I felt Irving himself was having a rather disappointing performance, but he did well enough that he was able to keep up with the Ras and try to keep him at bay. But I still thought as the first half went along, Cavalier were the better team. More and more they were creating havoc with their direct play and high press, and a lot of times you see More Pleasant was a bit struggling to get their rhythm going. As I said, Theo Phillips was doing his best, but Green had a difficult time to even touch the ball, and Campbell was basically nullified. But they didn't exactly take advantage, as Cavalier was unable to beat Shokran Davis, and eventually the first half whistle came. So basically a good performance by Cavalier, but they basically need to get the job done. While Mount Pleasant, I did not mention Shandy James not even once, and that's for good reason. I was watching in the stands from the bleachers, and honestly I completely forgot he was on the pitch. He was basically non-existent, and I hope I don't sound too harsh on the baller, but it seemed clearly Whitmore got this gamble wrong. And as the second half approaches, and he basically admitted with a substitution. No, I thought Guthrie was a absolutely great partner to Demari Phillips in that midfield in the second leg against Waterhouse, and I was absolutely flabbergasted that he did not start this game. Well, Whitmore corrected that wrong. At the start of the second half, saw Shandy James came off, and Guthrie now into the game. The former Arnett captain now was now given the free reins to go forward, as Phillips was sitting in the middle of the park to control everything. And Guthrie was definitely causing some trouble. He was the one that's much higher, closer to the box, and he was starting to weave his passes and influence into the game. Cavalier was taken a bit aback by this, but they were still trying to get their direct influence going. They were trying to find Shanil Thomas as much as they can, as well as Calvin up front, and I must say, Adrian Reed Jr. had some superb passes out of that midfield. One direct pass eventually found his way over the top and found a streaking Shanil Thomas, who was now running inside the box, and when we all thought that Shaquan Davis would get there first, Thomas got it around him, and with the retrieving defender on his back and the angle narrowing, he tried his best to wrap his foot round the ball and try to get it past the post. But just when he thought it was a sure 1-0, ping, here the post rustled and the ball went out for safety. A big chance for Cavalier, and it was an immense effort by Shanil Thomas to even get it on target. But you're starting to believe now that Cavalier chances are starting to run out. Football is a cruel sport, and if you don't take your chances, you feel that you're going to get out at one love. The game was definitely some swinging momentum in favour of Mount Pleasant at this point. Mount Pleasant was now getting much more of their passes going. They were finding Devontae Campbell a lot more often, who did his best again to take on Leng, who again did a superb job, I felt, to keep him on bay. I was surprised that with Campbell being so nullified that him and Bailey did not switch wings even once, but Bailey continued to play a good role on the right hand side, and just like the first half, he was giving Irving fits again. But Campbell will eventually come in more into the game, and with the yellow card stifling any more dangerous tackles, he was now free to now go inside or outside at the defenders. He decided that going down the byline was simply not working, and he was now cutting inside more often, which would put Leng on his wrong foot, and he got past him at one occasion when he came to the top of the box and laid off to Bailey on the opposite side, who saw the ball ricochet in the box back to Campbell, who on his right foot in the box with the opening goal gaping, he managed to hit it over the bar. Big chance for Campbell, who had his first shot in anger, but unfortunately it just went over the bar. But his chance will come, and it definitely did. Again, the ball was coming in from the right hand side again. Bailey did some good work, and with the ball rolling slowly at the top of the D, it is needed a nice right footed curler from somebody, and it came from Campbell. Although I felt that he scuffed it, it was enough to roll some defenders and surprisingly pass Bartlett in goal and find the back of the net. Big goal at the right time, and has undoubtedly cemented his place as a Mount Pleasant legend just by his performances in this playoff series. 1-0 to Mount Pleasant, and honestly Rudolph's speed would probably couldn't argue too much, as momentum was really now switching. But based on their performance in the first half up to this point, Cavalier could have felt all done. But if you remember in that game in their first leg against Arnett, they do have a bone in their body where they can respond quickly. And they found it just 2 minutes later from the corner from the left hand side. The ball was swinging to the back post, and Leng, who's been winning those back posts duels all game long, got another one where he headed it back in the part of the 6-yard box to only find a absolutely free as a bird Richard King, who did well to launch a nice volley into the back of the net. Another crucial goal by King and Cavalier, as it came just 2 minutes after the opening goal, and what was more impressive is that it was a striker's finish from the centre back. Most people, especially in the top 5 European leagues, would sometimes see that kind of shot lash it over the bar, but he did well with good technique to control his shot and have it on frame. 1-1, and it came absolutely at the right time, because I felt Cavalier as a unit was beginning to tire. At this point, Whitmore went with the drawing board. He took off Demari Phillips, who I thought had a good game, and put on Tevin Shaw, who is a bit more of a boxer than controlling the ball. I must admit, Tevin Shaw was playing well until he floated up to join the attack and help out Guthrie and the rest of them. McCullough would take over his spot from the inverted left back. So now the momentum again was no switching. Cavalier was a bit tiring, and Mount Pleasant was no controlling possession once more. They necessarily didn't carve out any major chances. We could see that some danger was coming. Again, I felt like Green had a tough game. He was out of the game, and Campbell was trying his darnest at this point to carve up another chance at goal. But Cavalier was resolute. Speed finally made some changes to try to freshen up his team and brought on Allen for Cadet, who was now giving him more possession in the middle of the park. But AJ Reid was still the main man. I felt he did was some superb work to cover against for Campbell and Bailey on the opposite side, and still able to string some passes up front for Thomas and Calvin. While Calvin and Thomas didn't exactly cover any more chances, they were doing all the dirty work as much as they can. But Mount Pleasant definitely had the momentum, but they just could not get any more clear-cut chances. So eventually, after all of that, the final whistle was blown, but the game was not over. 1-1, as we know, extra time came afoot. At this point, Shaquille Stein was already in the game and saw Calvin now on the right. Mount Pleasant now had some more changes made. James now came in for Bailey, which again, probably was a bit surprising. I felt Bailey was still influential and he didn't look tired, but you know, they want some fresh legs to run at that back line. So basically the entire extra time basically was a run back of what the second half was basically like. Cavalier did their best to try counter as much as they can. When they win the ball, they try their best to go direct and look for Stein and Calvin as much as they can. No, it was just simply not happening. There were no pin back in front of their own box by the good passing and possession by Mount Pleasant, as Guthrie and Shaw was now having their way. But the only issue for Mount Pleasant is that Green was just simply non-existent. Every time they try to give him the ball and he tried his best to hold it up, he just seemed like a tired boxer on his last legs trying to hold on for dear life. He clearly was no gas and he tried his best, but it was not enough. Eventually it seemed that he got a bit of an injury and saw Bygrave now chosen over Bradford to come into the game. So with Bygrave into it now, they were now able to play the ball a bit more to his body. He's of a bigger frame, of course. But again, credit to that back line, which has been absolutely superb all season long. They were able to keep Mount Pleasant at bay again. I don't quite remember Barkley making any desperate saves in that extra time, apart from this one where James make a good shot and saw Barkley to get down low and got it parried somewhat out to safety, but the ball did came back again in the 6-yard box and saw the shot go over the bar. So that was the only real chance Mount Pleasant could muster, and the whistle blew again. You know what that means? It was finally time for penalties. Apart from the sea of blue that were in the stadium, most neutrals were quite happy that he went to the drama field penalty shootout. So the penalties were coming. Busy, who I thought had an absolutely superb game, he's now walking up to take the first shot on the spot, and he's been basically perfect all year long from 8 yards out. But you know, the usual story in football, as I said before, it's very cruel. Can you believe it? He stepped up, went for power, a bit down the middle, but a big strong left arm palm by Shaquan Davis got it out for safety. Busy, who I felt it was a cruel fate for him because he played well all playoffs. No, might be the reason why his side loses. From there, Mount Pleasant got there first on the board with relative ease. Cavalier got one with relative ease as well from their second. Now the third shot now saw the man that was brought in towards the end of the extra time, and the club captain Lally Ritchie, who obviously was brought on just for this moment, had a short run up and saw his shot parried by Bartlett. So cruel fate again. The club captain now is in the doghouse and he was now even on penalties. So one miss each, and now Cavalier had a chance to go ahead. They did that from their spot here. So now, and you can see that they're in the driver's seat, and Guthrie absolutely could not miss, but that he did. He stepped up as well, looked like another shot run up, and he cruelly missed his one as well. So that's now Guthrie and later Ritchie, two of the more experienced men in the team, missed them shot. Cavalier did what they had to do. They scored theirs. Then Captain Fantastic had to score to keep it lively. He did. And now the final spot came down to a man that came into the game late, as Hamilton stepped up with all the experience in the world, coolly slots the way and give Cavalier the 2023-2024 JPL title as they run off in celebration, and the Mount Pleasant players, including Shaquan Davis, dropping to their feet in disappointment. It was a big man's performance from the youngest team on the field and in the league, but it's what we expect from any team that's coached by Rudolph Speed nowadays, and based on how they played all season, and especially in this match, they were deserved champions. Getty finished on penalty on paper to Cavalier, and they were now able to pop the champagne and lift that trophy. So good performance. Let me wrap up with the stats to tell you how the game went in numbers. Mount Pleasant actually outshot Cavalier 17-12. As I said to you, they dominated the game towards the end of the second half and majority of that extra time. But if you look closely on the next figure here, shots on target, they only managed 4. That is incredible effort by Kin, Ming, Leng and Irvin, as well as some stellar performance by Adrian Reed in middle, restrict them to only 4 on target. Cavalier in the opposite direction only had 3 on target, of course, but again they won't care about that since they have the trophy. 5 corners for Mount Pleasant compared to 4 by Cavalier, 2 offside each, 3 yellow cards for Cavalier. All that came in that first half when they stopped Campbell for running, and 2 for Mount Pleasant. So yeah, the stats didn't lie. It was a bit close on paper. Cavalier came out strong, but Mount Pleasant fight back in the end. Tabo Whitmore and his team should hang his head high. They played a good game and they've had a great season, but I felt small margins in the tactical shape-up and the player personnel cost them big time here. Shandy James starting to me was a no-go, but you know, so those things go. If they had worked out and scored 2 goals, would have called Whitmore a genius. As for speed, he owes me a beer next time he sees me. He lined up the team exactly where I thought it was the best option to win this game, and they did exactly what they needed by nullifying Campbell. Again, a good game for the neutrals and especially Cavalier fans, and Cavalier were worthy champions. Again, it finished 1-1 after extra time, but 4-2 on penalties to Cavalier. Alright guys, before we run out of here, we have some unfinished business, of course, with the third place match. I was Waterhouse taking on Arnett. I won't stay too long on this one because I was a bit disappointed with what happened on the field as a neutral, honestly. They go straight to the lineup. This is an important game, of course. This is not a regular third place team. And Arnett did make some changes. Edwards was out and Hutchinson was in, who I thought is a very good keeper, so no problem there. Philando Wing kept his spot at left back. Shane Watson kept his spot as well in centre back, but Joel Jones replaces Willis in the back 4. Nico Shea Murray was a big surprise name here. He replaced Marlon Martin. Shea Smith finally got his start after a good play in the playoff matches off the bench. And the front three, and you heard me right, the front three saw Dixon on the right, Shea Smith on left, and Parker Blacks healthy enough to play this match through the middle. But the big thing for me here is that Gilbert listened to my pleas and the pleas of many others and play a 4-3-3. So Thomas and Shepard alone, I felt, could probably be delighted with that. Waterhouse and Hanahan seemed that they weren't taking this game serious. When you just look at their lineup, I know it's a bit sentimental by coaches when the season have one more game to go and you can't win the title. You know, you try to give some hard workers in training some minutes on the pitch. So this game meant more than a bronze medal. So it was surprising to see Damian Binns in that lineup. It was even more shocking to see Jaime Dorman to play up front behind Javier Bryan. Everybody else was as usual. Jimison is back in the team, of course. Blair, of course, kept at left back with Dallas still out injured. And Rivaldo Mitchell, which means there was no space for Andre Fletcher on the bench. So from there, the game kicked off and Arnett looked like their usual self. They immediately was getting on the ball. They were making some good one-touch passes. And immediately they were getting out of the Waterhouse defense. Dixon, in particular, looked up for this game as he was terrorizing Blair on that right-hand side. This could be Dixon's last game on Jamaican soil for some time, and it seemed that the youngsters knew it. Not only that, this formation change finally released Shackles and Shepard, who was now coming in his own. He was absolutely bossed at midfield, and apart from 1 and 2 jittery moments where he lost the ball, he had a stellar performance. It seemed that every pass he had was finding the feet of Parker Blacks or Dixon and Thomas, who helped him in that midfield, and they were basically controlling the game. Waterhouse were a bit reserved. They seemed like they were just sitting back and watching and see what Arnett was up to as they play a bit of a mid-block in midfield and hope to try to spring the likes of Dorman and Javier Bryan up front. It wasn't really exactly working the last 15 minutes, and eventually some good play by Shepard and good position by Shea Smith, who came inside, saw the overlapping Philando Wing getting to a byline, and now in the box he's able to float a ball in between the penalty spot and 6-yard box, just enough to avoid Foster, but find the head of Shea Smith. Another goal for the left winger, who never exactly had the best regular season, but came alive in these playoffs. 1-0 to Arnett. Credit to Waterhouse. At this point, I feel like they woke up. They start to know play a bit more direct. They were now finding the feet of Javier Bryan much more, and Blair was now overlapping much more on that left hand side. Eventually, it worked to their favor. Mitchell cut in. Blair able to receive the ball. He was able to look up and able to place a good ball right between Wizard and Watson to find the brown man himself, Jaime Dorman. They're able to one-touch it into the back of the net. Good goal for the man who I felt shouldn't even be in this match, but credit where credit is due. He had a decent game. From there, his confidence was now buzzing. He had another chance where he was able to take the ball down in the box, able to swivel, but couldn't get it on target. So Water was now feeling good. But Arnett being Arnett, they eventually get on the ball again and was now coming again in droves. Again, Dixon was the main man. Waterhouse was also playing stellar as he was now drawing the centre backs out of position to come into midfield to receive the ball and then find Dixon as he streaked behind the back line to try and get it on goal. He didn't manage to get a goal in that first half, but warning shots were definitely there. So the first half ended 1-1 with both teams having periods of dominance, honestly. But the second half was a whole different story. Immediately in 1 minute after the kickoff, Dixon got away on that right side, running on goal at the angle. Blair did his best, he came back, but the cutback killed him and sent him to the ground, and Dixon with his left foot was able to slot it past Cameron Foster in goal to give himself the first goal in the playoffs. And it's what we expect from the young man in this Arnett team. Right after that, they came again. This time, Shepard and Dixon teamed up on that right-hand side. Shepard played a ball to Dixon, who gave him back. And now Shepard in on the box again, was able to find it on top of the penalty spot to find a absolutely freed Parker Blocks, who calmly slot the ball into the goal. 3-0 at this time, and Waterhouse, they got even worse after that. Their number one striker and best player, Jamaican Bryan, went down with a big injury. That's why he had to come out of the game. A very sad ending to an absolutely brilliant season for Jamaican Bryan, but that's just how it goes sometimes. And it seemed that was the last straw for Waterhouse spirits, as they were definitely dejected from now. They definitely won't play any ball at all. Another ball over the top again for Dixon, looking for Dixon, but who decided not to go out goal himself and be a provider. Saw the ball slip past for Chase Smith, who had only Foster to beat, and that he did to give Arnett the fourth goal. Easy peasy. Then again, a dejected Waterhouse, he have another ball over the top. Arbine, who is now in the game for Reed, was in on goal. He seemed that this would be his chance to light up the scoreboards with his name, but he fluffed his lines and stepped on the ball. But lucky for them, Dixon was just in a different zone and a different mentality, who took the ball and seemed that he was just playing on the streets with his friends, was not able to calmly compose himself and slap the ball for Arnett's fifth. 5-1, and at this point, basically, it was no point even watching anymore. Waterhouse was basically a defeated, wounded animal, and Arnett was the deserved victors. If whistle eventually went, and that's how it ended, 5-1. So let me get quickly the stats and how the game went in numbers. And honestly, this first stat surprised me. 13 total shots for Waterhouse, 13 total shots for Arnett. I must admit, I don't know where those 30 shots came from, as Waterhouse was basically non-existent in that second half. I will say though, Denaro Thomas was the only player who came out of that tunnel for the last 45. Anyway, shots on target. This look more on point now. Waterhouse had 4 on target, while Arnett had 10. Corners 3 for Waterhouse, 4 for Arnett. So 2 stories from this one. Marcel Gale making a lineup change like that, a bit disappointing, which was a crucial spot in the Caribbean Cup on the line, as well as so much money. In fact, that's now 150,000 US that is going to Arnett for finishing third. And the next talking point, of course, is that this could very well have been Kaim Dixon's last football on Jamaican soil for some time, and he went out with a bang. I felt that his game looked much more simple, as playing on the wing is a bit more clear what to do than going through the middle. He very well may be a central attacking striker eventually one day, but as felt in this Arnett lineup, he's much better on the wing. Flowers should be given to Jamon Shepard as well. A lot of people were at his case in the previous matches, but I was trying to tell you guys, he just don't work in a 4-4-2 diamond. He was much better in this game, and if it wasn't for Dixon, he would have probably been man of the match as well. But congratulations to Arnett, they are now the third place team, and they got that big spot in the Caribbean Shield to hopefully join More Pleasant and Cavalier in the Caribbean Cup. So it finishes Waterhouse 1, Arnett Gardens 5. So yeah guys, that is the season. That is all JPL's got. It's been a very tiring season. Before I get out of here, I must make note and give you guys, the watchers and the supporters, your flowers, as is a long time I've not seen so many people at the National Stadium for a football match outside the Manning Cup finals. Yeah man, it's basically in a stadium that holds 32,000. It was 3/4 full, so to say roughly 20,000 of you guys were there, and I want to give special shout out to the More Pleasant crew, as I felt the majority of the stadium was in blue and they had to travel from so far from St. Anne for this game. So a major applause for those guys, despite the disappointing ending. And my next applauded for the season as well as to go to the PFJL Chris Williams stated over and over that this will be the best league in the world one day, and at least you can say he's on the right path. Great job by him and Owen Hill and the entire PFJL staff. I might have no move on my applause to Taylor and the 876 stream. They did a tremendous job keeping us in the loop and marketing well, as you can see with the stadium numbers, all season long. I again see how they work behind the scenes, and they work very hard. So congrats to a good season to them as well. And my final big up have to go to my followers here at JPL Fan. Guys, I deeply appreciate you guys watching from episode 1 coming all the way up to the final. Honestly, I just started this whole thing as a fan of the league and wanted my league with a spot in the spotlight as well. So for me to get even here is major thanks to you guys for watching and supporting. So special big up to Fresh God, special big up to Da Costa, special big up to MG Sports, special big up to Unseen Sports, and special big up to and all the other YouTubers who support me on this platform. A special big up to my wife, because I miss a lot of family time to keep up with these review shows every week. So major thanks to everybody. And final congratulations one more time to Rudolph Speed, Richard King, and the entire team at Cavaliers for a job well done. They deserve their championship. And maybe it's a shame that there's too much schoolboys in that team, because they deserve a party. Alright guys, that is all. I am tired. I was hoping to get a little bit of vacation, but we have a lot more content coming for you guys as we try to keep you all in the loop throughout the off season. So stick around right here at JPL Fan. If you're new here, please like, subscribe and share. And if you're a long-time follower, you know you can help support the channel by clicking on that PayPal link in the comment section to make a small donation if you have it. But regardless, I'm just happy you guys are here. JPL is out, I'm tired. We'll come again at the end of the week with a special competition to talk about, so stick around for that. But that's it guys. Big up on yourself YouTube, I'm out.